talk to you a little bit about how pain points manifest themselves within our work roles, and more importantly, how those sources of kind of operational pain, once you really start to dig into them, you do realize that it often leads you to rot that is buried deep beneath the surface. It goes far and wide. And in today's example, let's talk about a piece of equipment that is giving operators some headaches. It is constantly breaking down. Now, on the front end of this, as an organization, we did like all kinds of safety studies on this equipment. Like we killed tons of trees, tons and tons and tons and tons of trees, lots of signatures, like 40 signatures, lots of signatures for very important people with lots of arbitrary authority within our organization to say that this thing was safer than the ones that we were using before. We sent it to all kinds of engineers that told us that it would never break down. It's like the perfect piece of equipment. And more importantly, we picked it because it was going to be like, 20, 30% cheaper, watching out for the bottom line there. So we threw it out there. We put it out into our work roles with little to no input from folks that actually have to use it. Now, this piece of equipment is indeed breaking down, and it's like breaking down a shit ton. And that is an actual scientific term. It is breaking down a shit ton. Now, the people that have to use this equipment, they're figuring out how to make it work. They're out there doing what they do. They're getting shit done. You add in some of our kind of normal mechanisms that we use within our organization. So let's say we have some incentivized metrics around the production outputs for this particular piece of equipment. Those kind of metrics that have a shit ton of cash to them, back to our scientific terms, a shit ton of cash tied to them that thou shalt never miss. Well, our employees do what they do. They make sure that we never miss that metric. A ton, an absolute shit ton of helping and band-aiding that system along to keep it operational. They figured out how to keep it running. They figured out how to fashion parts. They figured out how to push the equipment beyond its operational limitations to make up for the downtime that this new fancy handy-dandy piece of equipment, all this problems it is giving us, they found a way to keep it moving. Now, when those concerns are raised, what do? We have our normal reactions to when people bring this stuff up. Oh, complaining. They're just complaining. They just don't like the new piece of equipment. Oh, just complaining. We look back at those handy dandy fancy metrics, the ones that are always green, and say, but look how green these metrics are. Surely there can't be any problems. We have green metrics. We have great production. This just has to be complaints. They're just making a big deal out of nothing. We're using those metrics as ammunition to shoot down their concerns. If it does make it up higher in the organization, we point back to all those trees we killed, all those safety studies, all those super duper smart safety people and smart engineers and the person that provided us with the equipment, and we go and look at our peers that are using that same equipment and say, but look, their metrics are green too, and our metrics are green, and we all did the same studies. Everything is fine. So the system, it keeps chugging along. Our employees going above and beyond to band-aid the problems, to keep it looking good, to make sure that we're meeting those metrics. And what happens? Maybe one day the piece of equipment trips offline. And Bob quit last week, and Bob's the only one that knows how to get the equipment back up and running. Maybe the equipment does go all to shit once again, but that we had a handy-dandy supply of parts, but now we're out and we have supply chain issues, and now we can't get it back online. Maybe while we're pushing it beyond its production limits to make up for that downtime, something catastrophic happens, it catches on fire, and half the facility burns down. Maybe that piece of equipment malfunctions once again, and an operator climbing up to manually restart it falls to their death. What would a little bit of operational curiosity done within this particular situation? Now, we can't say that catastrophe might have been completely averted just because someone said, hey, we might want to take those concerns a little more seriously than just chalking them up to complaints or pointing at some hollow green metric. But in my humble opinion, I think a lot would have changed. That's the thing with pain points. They go deep and wide. They come from a variety of causes within our organizations, and there's a lot of layers that tend to cover them up. Back to the main point. You have to go out and be curious and seek to understand. Pain points are starting points. They're windows into deeper problems, and we must explore them deeply.